Flex data modeling is based on the Model View Controller design pattern. In this video, you will learn how to apply this pattern to a simple application. In the MVC pattern, the model refers to the data objects in your application. The view refers to the user interface elements, and the controller handles the logic for how the model and view interact. In Flex applications, the model represents data like the array collection objects that contain the data returned from the HTTP service call. The view in an application might be a data grid control or other UI component. The controller in a Flex application can be a specialized implementation as in many frameworks like Cairngorm, but it is often just the main application file in a simple implementation. I will use the company vehicle request form for this example. The code for this application retrieves data, manipulates it in functions, and then displays it in UI components. Currently, all the code used in this example is in one file. This may be suitable for small applications, but it is not typical to the majority of applications. In this video, you will learn how to separate the application code into the model, view, and controller. The retrieved data is the model. The main application file represents the controller, and the view will consist of all the UI display elements. I will begin by creating the view. This means transferring the UI controls to a separate component file. I am creating a new directory in the source folder by selecting New Folder and naming it Components. I am right-clicking on the Components directory and selecting New MXML Component. In the dialog, I am naming the component Vehicle Request Form. I am removing the width and height so that the component will size itself to its content, and then I am clicking Finish. Back in the main application, I am cutting the UI controls and pasting them in the Vehicle Request Form component. When I save the component and the main application file, you can see that the main application file has some errors. In the Problems view, you can see that these errors are related to the pickup date and the return date. These date chooser controls are no longer in the main application file, so the functions that are referring to them are throwing errors. I'm going to fix those errors by moving the initApp and date change handler functions from the main application into the vehicle request form. I'm cutting these from the main application and then returning to the vehicle request form custom component to create a script block and paste in the code. The initApp function is responsible for sending the HTTP service call and initializing the event listeners on the date chooser controls. The date change handler function handles the event when the date chooser is triggered. I am changing the name of the initApp function to just init. This makes it more appropriate to its purpose in this component. I am also calling the init function from the creation complete event of the custom component. I'm cutting the employee service.send method from the init function and then replacing the initApp method call in the creation complete event of the main application with this request. I'm saving both files. To recap, I have moved the UI controls into the custom component, which is my view. I have also moved the two functions that manage the events for the date chooser controls to the component as well. However, I have made sure that the data request is still managed by the main application by moving the employee service.send method back to the creation complete event of the application container. The UI elements do use the calendar layout change event and the alert classes, so I am copying those import statements from the main application and moving them to the custom component. I can actually delete the calendar layout change event from the main application file, but I must leave the alert class since it is used by the data service fault handler. I am saving both files. Note that within the custom component UI elements, the drop-down list controls data provider property is bound to the property employees. The employees property is the array collection instance created in the main application file that is populated with the return data from the service call. I will need to pass this data from the main application to the custom component via a custom component property. In the script block after the import statements, I am creating a public variable named employees that is data typed to the array collection class. Note that Flash Builder has automatically imported the class for me since I used Code Assist. I am instantiating the property with the new operator. Remember that an ActionScript property that is bound to a UI control must use the bindable metadata directive. At this point, the vehicle request form view is complete. The component can accept data and populate the drop-down list control. It also handles the selection of dates from the date chooser controls. I am saving the file again. Now I must integrate the vehicle request form view back into this main application file. In the UI components area of the code, I am adding an instance of the vehicle request form component. Note that Flash Builder's Code Assist tool can find the component in the components directory. When I select it, you can see that Flash Builder places the component in a namespace called Components. When I scroll up to the opening application tag, you can see that Flash Builder has created this namespace for me. I'm saving the file and then running the application. The drop-down list control does not have any data in it. This is because I've created the employees property in the custom component, but I haven't used it in my code to send data to the component. Back in the main application file, I am adding the employees property to the custom component and then adding curly braces for the binding. Now, what do I bind to? Remember that this employees property is a property of the vehicle request form custom component. Here it is in the component code. However, the main application file also has a property named employees. It is instantiated towards the top of the script block and then populated with the return data in the result handler. This is the property that I am binding to. Even though the employees property of the vehicle request form and the employees property of the main application are named the same, they are not the same variables. The main application employees property is scoped to only exist in the main application. The vehicle request form components employee property can only be referenced from that custom component's scope. I am saving the file and running the application again. When I select the drop-down list control, I can see now that it is populated with data. I have successfully implemented a simple MVC design pattern where my view is the vehicle request form custom component, my model is the data stored in the employee's property, and my controller is the business logic in the main application file. For your next step, work through the exercise titled Separating the Model, View, and Controller.